If you're looking for an affordable and effective way to upgrade the intake on your 2007 to 2011 5.7 liter Tundra, this RedRock cold air intake will be a great option to take a look into. Now this will be a great pick if you've added some heavier mods to your truck and you're looking to gain some of that efficiency back that you may have previously lost. Now, this will also be a great option if you're tired of replacing your factory filter and want one that you can reuse for the lifetime of your truck while getting better filtration. I would like to mention that this will not be as protective as your factory airbox with the heat shield here, so I would recommend this to somebody who is in a drier climate or someone who's mainly avoiding mud and water when taking their truck off-road. This intake will do a great job at relieving a lot of that restriction that your factory intake has, increasing the airflow for better fuel efficiency, horsepower, and torque numbers with no tune required. Now, not only will this upgrade the flow, but optimize your filtration at the same time, keeping the air coming into the intake cleaner for better longevity out of your engine. Not to mention, this will give the engine bay a sportier look for whenever you pop the hood with the stealthy styling. Getting into the construction and the breakdown of this kit, this will include a steel heat shield that will seal to the hood, keeping hot engine bay air away from the filter. With this, you'll also be ditching the factory filter and replacing it with a high-flow multi-layer filter that you'll be able to clean and re-oil, saving you a bit of cash in the long run while optimizing flow and filtration. Now, this will also have a straight-through style aluminum intake tube with a polished finish, adding a classic appearance under the hood in addition to the stealthy appearance with the black filter here. Now, this kit will also come with all of the hardware that you need in order to get this onto your Tundra. This will be roughly $225 and is very affordable compared to other options on the page. Now, other choices on the site will go up and down in price depending on their design, which will make a difference depending on what you're looking for and what you're looking to do with your truck. Now, something simplistic like this will usually be more on the cost-effective side, as to where some more expensive choices will usually offer a little bit more protection to the filter, like a closed box or airbox design. Overall, I like the fact that this is a no-frill design. It gives the engine bay a good aesthetic and a functional upgrade while saving you a couple bucks in the process. Now, the install is a very easy 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about an hour to get the job done with some basic hand tools. Now, speaking of the install, one of our customers here has installed this on their Tundra and is going to walk you through the process step by step. So that wraps it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
Okay, so the tools I'm using today are a pair of pliers, 10 millimeter wrench, 10 millimeter socket with a ratchet, Phillips screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, and just to make things easier, I have an impact drill with a 10 millimeter socket on it for getting to some of those hard to reach places and get that extra torque whenever I can't reach it.
Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to put a cold air intake on a 2007 Toyota Tundra. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to remove the engine cover. Should be able to just pop this off and move it out of the way so you can actually get to the intake. Then we're going to take our flathead screwdriver and we're going to loosen up these clamp bolts just enough to get the hose off. There's the first one. Loosen up the second one. Doesn't have to come all the way off. So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our pliers and we're going to loosen up this clamp, this hose back here. Slide it out of the way. Sometimes these may be loose, other times you might be able to just pull it off with your hand like that one. And then you got a little vacuum vent hose that you'll need to pull off as well. So most of that stuff should be loose. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to disconnect our mass airflow sensor. And we should be able to pop the cover of the intake off and take the air filter out. There's four clamps all around the edges. So once you pop those off, you should be able to lift it straight up and out of the way. Now, since we've already loosened the hose, we'll just pull it right off. Now one of the other things we need to do here is we need to disconnect the little clip that's holding the mass airflow sensor. So I'll take a flathead screwdriver and just stick it in the top, and there we go. We'll take this and get it out of the way because we won't need that anymore. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do, I got the drill because it's a little easier with a 10mm socket, and there are 2 bolts that are holding this housing in place. So I'm just gonna take those out. Housing out. And that's what she looks like. Okay, so now that we've got the cover off, we need to remove this mass airflow sensor so that we can put it on the new intake. So we'll use a Phillips screwdriver and just unscrew those. Being very careful not to damage any of the sensor whenever you pull it out. Alright, and that's our mass airflow sensor. We'll set that aside for now. Alright, so next we're going to take the elbow for the new intake. There's a couple of little screws in here we're going to go ahead and remove. We're going to take our mass airflow sensor and we're going to put it in with the connection. The connection side's going to be up, so we're going to slide it in there carefully. And we're going to go ahead and put our screws in. And tighten them again with the Phillips screwdriver. Alright, that should be good. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our seal and we're going to put it on our housing. It'll be really easy. You can see all you do is slide it over and push it on. So we're going to start at the bottom and just work our way up, pushing as we go. Should be good to go. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of the 4 clamps that we have here. Sorry, there's 5, but a smaller one. We're going to take one of the joints, the connectors, and the housing. We're going to go ahead and put it through. Take one of these connector couples. Put it right on top. One of the hose clamps. I want to make sure it's facing up so that whenever I actually put it on the truck, it's something I can reach in case I have to make some more adjustments. Alright. There we go. Alright, so the next thing to prepare is we're going to take the piece with the mass airflow sensor. Got a little plastic piece with the groove, so we want to slide that groove right over the mass airflow sensor. We're going to take our connector, see which one. We're going to put the large end over the top here. Give it a little twist, make sure it's in there pretty good, and then we're going to take another one of our clamps, fit it right over the top. You want to make sure you don't use the small one because that's for the other side. So we'll use our 94 to 118 millimeter clamp. And just like the other one, we're going to make sure that we have our screw facing up. And then we'll tighten that down with the Phillips screwdriver. Okay. Nice and tight. So then we're going to take both of our pieces. We won't quite put those on yet together, but we will go ahead and slide one of these on just to prepare it. Once we get it on the truck, then we'll adjust it however we need to.
we'll just go ahead and make sure one side is good with another clamp using the Phillips screwdriver or your fingers to start out with, and cinch that down. And what I'm going to go ahead and do, just because I like things to be easy, is I'm going to go ahead and put the other clamp on. I just won't tighten it. Just enough to stay on there. And back here at the truck, we're going to put our new 5/8 hose, vent hose on here. So we're going to use the pliers to take off the old hose, or you can use your fingers and pull that one off. Okay, there we go. And we're going to need these clamps, so go ahead and take them off, put them on the new hose. Okay, so going back to the truck, the next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take this hose, this breather hose off. We're pretty much going to reroute it. So I've already loosened the clamps a little bit, so we'll pull it out. And I found the best way to do this is to flip it around. So we're going to put that into the hose in there. And we're gonna reach it around to the other side where we took that first hose off. We're gonna put that on there. It might help if we loosen up this bolt a little bit, just so it turns a little easier. There we go. Now we have some room to work. Tighten that clamp. We're gonna take our new hose and we're gonna put it in the spot that we just moved that hose from. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and prepare this intake manifold and use our Phillips screwdriver to tighten that down. Now if you'll notice, whenever I took these hoses off, one of our vacuum hoses is broken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take it off with the pliers. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to shorten it. Just going to rip that part off. And let's hope it reaches. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on. All right. So now these hoses, they're going to be a tough little stretch, but we're going to get them to fit on there. Okay, so one of the things we're going to have to do to make sure the housing fits is we're going to have to move this bracket and these connectors right here. So we'll take the flathead screwdriver. There we go. And I'm going to have to loosen this whole thing up so that I can get under there. So we're going to use the drill, or you can use the 10mm ratchet. Take that off. You're going to need that later. Okay? So we can take this whole bracket off, flip it around, use our flathead screwdriver to pull those clips out. There we go. So now we're able to move that out of the way. Now we'll get our housing that we've already put together. So we've got our housing right now, and we're gonna fit it in here. Where these bolts line up. See, this is where our new clip is gonna go once we get that on there, but we'll bolt down the housing first. We're going to take our 10mm bolts with the washers and bolt them in down at the bottom. Okay, so one of the things we found just now putting the housing on is that we actually need to take the horn off because it connects to the housing as well. So we'll get our 10mm and loosen that up. So now we should be able to put our housing where it goes. We'll feed the horn all the way in the back. Okay, so it's a tight fit, but we're gonna have to get this horn back in the same spot that it was just in. So we're gonna put that bolt back in. Can you see it? So if you can see it, it's right here. We've got it started, so we're gonna use the ratchet to tighten that down. It might be easier for the drill at this point, but use that 10mm to cinch that down. Put the horn back on. Okay, now we're gonna finish our housing with one of our new bolts. We're gonna put it in the back. Again, it's a little hard to get to. And hard to see. Okay, so we got the drill, so it'll be a little easier. If you can see this bolt that we finally got started down there, we'll use the drill or a ratchet if you want. Tighten that down. Now we'll move to the front and we'll also tighten this place down. So now our housing is in its place. Now we can't forget our bracket down here. So we're going to try to connect that. The best way to do it is to use this one on the end. Now the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to put our hoses back on. So the only way this fits is this way, and that's the only way the hoses actually fit. So we're not going to tighten any of the clamps, but we are going to fit the hoses in here before we cinch it down. I already have the rubber to join them together on there, so it makes it a little easier. Then we're going to take our second piece, our clamps, go ahead and slide those clamps on over. Might need to loosen them up just a little bit. Slide those on first. And as you can see, I've already got this clamp on with the screw facing a direction that I'll be able to get to. So we still have some wiggle room in here. So next we're going to take this aluminum tube and we're going to put it on just like this. We're just going to slide it through. We're going to do some wiggling to get the other end in. Sometimes you may have to start with the other side. It just depends on your truck and how it's designed and set up. But this is the best way I've found to do this. You want to make sure that all the rubber is sealing. Everything's good, nothing's too loose. There we go, it just slid into place. Now we can start tightening the clamps. So I'll position those and get my Phillips screwdriver. And I'm going to start from this side and tighten opposite of the airflow. You want to get these pretty tight because it's not a perfect fit. So since you're bending the rubber, you want to make sure that these are nice and tight and you get a good seal. And then the last one. Now I need to adjust that because it came off just a little bit. So let me go ahead and back it back out. and adjust my clamp just a tad. Okay, and we have our mass airflow sensor, so it will reach this little hose that I ended up having to cut. We'll go ahead and connect that. And our new hose that we put on. Like I said, this is the only way that I found for these to go on, so it may take some flexing and some bending. Let me get the pliers. There we go. That hose is on there. Thankfully it was just the T connector, but all our vacuum hoses are still connected. Unfortunately, I just have a hose hanging here now. Go ahead and tighten that back up. And we'll go ahead and connect the mass airflow sensor. Okay, now that we've got the hose on and everything's pretty sturdy, we'll take our filter and our biggest hose clamp. We'll go ahead and put that on there, tighten it down just a little bit so it doesn't slide off. Just take it, work our way in here, and slide it right over the top of that housing and tighten it down. Okay, we're pretty tight there. So before I do anything else, I just want to make sure that we've got no hoses or anything lying around. Make sure all these hose clamps are tight, as tight as they can get. Make sure my vacuum hoses have their clamps. Make sure all my screws are good. One of the things we did find is that for the cables that I took off earlier, the housing itself, the hole in it's too small, so you can't put these clips back in. So we just kind of have to tuck this underneath. There's a little gap, so we'll tuck it under there just so it doesn't move. And we're ready to start it up. So everything's on. I got no lights on, so that's always a good thing. It seems to work. It sounds good. So now we'll replace the engine cover and we're good to go.
So that's going to wrap it up for my review and the install of this RedRock cold air intake fitting all 2007 to 2011 5.7 liter Toyota Tundras. For more videos and products just like this, remember to always keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.